Let's talk about a pain point for China, shall we? And that continues to be Hong Kong. The international airport there suspending all check-ins for the second straight day. You're looking there at live pictures as hundreds of protesters continue to swarm the airport. They've been blocking departure and arrival halls. They've been preventing passengers from reaching their planes. And the city overall has been paralyzed by these protests for the past 2 months. So it just seems to be escalating here. So Akiko, I wonder, as we watch this go on, and as we watch the tariff and trade back and forth go on, how is this affecting China's negotiating power, or is it?
Well, I would argue that this is a much bigger concern for the Chinese government than the U.S.-China trade issue is, because the U.S.-China trade issue is an economic issue. And sure, it's going to, we've already seen it affect the economy in China, but they can play the long game on this. If they cave to these protesters in Hong Kong, that suggests a fundamental change in the structure with which they operate. And, I do have to wonder, I think that the message has been a bit muddled among the protesters. It started with the extradition bill. Now they're also seeking free elections. Right now, those elections are based on candidates that were handpicked by Beijing. They want to change to that. I just don't see China giving into that.
So the potential black swan unexpected event, if the People's Liberation Army moves in to restore order, I mean, that throws everybody into some kind of, I don't know the word to use here, but markets wouldn't like it, or they would like the stability?
That's a great question. You always wonder if these geopolitical risks actually come to pass. How does that affect stock markets? Hong Kong is a financial center, so I think that could have some kind of direct impact on markets. What China would not do, China would not interfere with the functioning of Hong Kong as a financial center because it's too valuable to do that. So it is a real unknown for markets. I don't think it would, cause a global recession on its own. And I also think China can do more than one thing at once. They can certainly, this is a tough problem in Hong Kong, and I don't know how China is going to play it or the right way to play it, but they can certainly deal with that or focus on that while at the same time, doing whatever they're doing with the United States. But by the way, they're really not doing anything with the U.S. on trade right now. There are no real negotiations, and that tactic seems to actually be working for China.
And the biggest issue is, what is China going to do? So we've been seeing this for about a month, these protests, the airport shut down, thousands of protesters, and you get a flashback to Tiananmen Square. That's when China actually cracked down on protesters and killed at least 10,000 people. So the big question right now is, what is China going to do if these protests continue? What is
you were just there.
Yeah, I just don't see the Chinese military going in the way that Tiananmen happened. I think we're looking at that in...
So what's the other side then? So I just keep trying to figure out what's the end game here. If they don't go in militarily and crack down, what kind of concessions could they possibly offer at this point to, reassure the people there that they're addressing?
Well, I think you start by coming out and saying the extradition bill is off the table. It's not off the table right now. It's just been suspended. Wow. That's the first way to at least show protesters that, yes, we are willing to meet you halfway. I mean, the only reason I think that we shouldn't look at this as Tiananmen is because if that happens, Taiwan's watching as well. Yeah. There are pro-independent activists there who are waiting to see what's going to happen. The mainland China, of course, claims Taiwan as their own. I mean, you would see a ripple effect across the region that would destabilize East Asia.
Just a quick question. Do people in Hong Kong consider themselves Chinese?
Well, it depends on who you ask. It really depends on who you ask. I mean, there are certainly people who will say, look, we don't like that the mainland government is encroaching, but that brings stability to the region. And I think you have to watch what people are doing here among protesters. I mean, you have to look back to the umbrella movement and you wonder, those people did not get any change despite the protests. And that's why you're seeing more provocative actions happening this time around.
Sometimes there is no end game.
Well, this isn't going to end anytime soon.
One way or another.
We're going to keep an eye on it.
To stop.
We're going to watch it. Well,
going.
Carrie Lam could resign, but we're going to watch all of this.